Now, of course, all families are different, and that's true of LDS families too. Every LDS family is going to be unique in different ways, but there are also certain features that tend to characterize LDS families as a whole. And so let's talk about how Latter-day Saint families are unique. Social science research has identified 4 areas where LDS families diverge from the general population. Number 1 is they tend to be more conservative with respect to sexual behavior before or outside of marriage. Sexuality for Mormons is the means that God uses to bring spirits out of the pre-existence into this mortal world, and also to create then an eternal family. And so it's highly revered, and it's just kept very consistently for marriage alone. Then the second area the research shows is that LDS are more likely to marry and less likely to divorce. And along with that is they tend to marry earlier, but whereas the general population, about 50% of people are married, in the LDS Church about 2/3 to 3/4 of adults are married, and they're less likely to divorce. The third thing that sets them apart a little bit is that LDS families tend to be larger than the norm. Now, the median size of LDS families has decreased somewhat over time. They're not as large as they used to be, but they're still larger than the general population. And then the fourth thing that sets them apart is that LDS families are marked by more male authority and more traditional division of labor. And so, of course, again, this is not every family is the same. And what we discover is that there are also generational differences, where wives are typically less likely to work outside of the home or to seek a career outside of child rearing, but this is changing somewhat among younger Mormons in the millennial generation. And so, nevertheless, those are some features that set Mormon families apart. Now, what's unique about Mormon family life is that they see the family as a vehicle of salvation. And so a lot of LDS values regarding family are similar to traditional Christian family values, but at the heart of the LDS view of families is a completely different worldview. So it looks similar on the outside, but deep within it's driven by a completely different view of reality. Because in Mormonism, families are the center of the plan of salvation. The universe is organized along family lines. Heaven is seen as an extension of home life on this earth. And so Mormons will say families are forever. The family then is the basic unit of exaltation. The essence of exaltation, in fact, at the highest level of heaven, the essence of that really is to reproduce your family life eternally. This explains the emphasis on genealogy that Mormons are so well known for, because they seek to connect their families both backward and forward in time, joining all the generations of a family together in eternity. Now, what's key, we mentioned that Mormons tend to have a more traditional view of family roles, and so the role of the father is he's the priesthood leader of the home. He's the patriarch of the home. And so fathers will baptize their children. They have the priesthood authority in their home. They'll ordain their sons to give them the priesthood as well. They'll lead in giving a blessing for the health of their kids. If one of the kids is sick, the father will give them a priesthood blessing, or they'll give a blessing to their kids at the key crossroads of life, going off to college or whatever it might be. That's part of the father's patriarchal priesthood role. Now let's consider a few family practices that are common in Mormonism. LDS families don't really have any strong tradition of formal religious rituals in the home. Domestic spirituality is more informal. It involves maybe prayer at meals or spontaneous prayer for needs that arise in the family life. But the one structured activity that many Mormons participate in is called Family Home Evening. Family Home Evening is a weekly family time set aside. Typically, it's been on Monday nights, set aside where the family will engage together in some lessons, some activities, crafts, maybe an outing of some kind. There might be a family business meeting held at that time. And research has shown that 51% of LDS consider Family Home Evening as absolutely essential. 45% see it as important but not essential. And so it's really a key element of LDS family life. But there are other common practices reflecting the value of the family. Family reunions are big in Mormon culture. There's a huge emphasis on family history, on records and journals kept by one's ancestors, and studying and publishing those things. And families do genealogy together, and they share the results together among their families. A genealogy is a family trait. And so you can't really understand life as a member of the LDS Church without factoring in the strong emphasis on the family.